YouTube, you are on the channel of Rainbow Rocks. Let's cut right to the chase. Today's makeup is a recreation / transformation of some makeup that was done on the queen herself, Little Debbie. Yep. This is a collab she did with Honey Bee Gold, and her makeup artist was Nikki G MUA, that's her Instagram name. And today we're going to replicate it. I can't even say that the blue lips are the star of the show, just because for a neutral eye look, this is like the best possible, most beautiful thing ever, and I'm like absolutely in love. I've been doing this eye look non-stop since I saw this on Instagram, and it's just everything. Seriously, the blue lips are just a bonus. And I realize this collab is kind of old, and I'm doing this tutorial very belatedly, but I wanted to wait until I could get a hold of a certain blue lipstick, and now that I have it, here is the tutorial, yo. I'm priming my eyes with the same concealer I'll use on my face and under eyes. It's the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer in Fair, which is my usual, as usual. And I just swipe it a couple of times onto my lid and my brow bone, and then use my fingers to disperse it around my whole eye, and then to pat it in and then melt the product so that it and my skin become one. And then I'm bringing in the Too Faced Chocolate Bar Palette, the OG, and I'm just going to start with white chocolate, which is pretty close to my lid color / the color of the concealer. And I'm going to use my Sigma E60 to place that everywhere that I primed my eyes to set the concealer and make everything easier to blend later on. And I just pat it on everywhere until it's bone dry. And next I'm grabbing my transition shade, which is Milk Chocolate from the palette. And I chose it because it's the cooler of the light browns in this particular palette. And on a fluffy brush of your choice, my preferred is a Sigma E40 as per usual. And I just dust this into my eye socket as usual. If you look at the shape of Debbie's eyeshadow, it's very rounded because she has round sunken sockets, but it stops at the inner edges of her iris. So to mimic that, I'm blending in the shape of my own orbital bone, which isn't as round as hers, but I just take the inner part of my blending up a little higher to round it out. The key to making this identical to her look is to stop at the iris though. So somewhere in there I started using Semi-Sweet, which is a darker brown from the palette. I didn't show you by accident, but it's literally just like a super basic mid-tone brown. And I literally just use the same brush, the same shape, and the same motions to blend that below the previous shade. This is an easy step, just make sure not to take it higher than the transition, like duh. But continue to really round out that socket since this is the darker shade, but stop a little bit before the iris. And now again, I forgot to take a shot of the next color I'm using, but we're just moving down the darkness scale to the color Triple Fudge from the palette, which is just your traditional, like very dark blackened brown, an espresso brown essentially, and I'm tracing the exact same shape, just smaller. I'm using my Sonia Kashuk number 109 brush. It's just a crease brush I got from Target. It's pretty marvelous. It's big enough so that you can blend out shadows seamlessly, but small enough that you can do more precise work with it as we are now. I don't think it's meant to be paddle shaped, but I just think being trapped in its packaging made it that way. But it's going to work to our advantage today. I angled the brush so that the more straight paddled part of the tip is right in that crease, fitting in like the piece of a puzzle kind of, and then I just slowly and lightly apply the shadow directly into the crease and trace it with like a semicircle motion all along that crease. The combined effort of a brush like this one, careful movements, and really knowing and feeling out the shape you want makes working with a dark shadow extremely easy. It can be intimidating, but as long as you already went from the light brown to the medium brown to the dark brown, you'll be fine. Once you have a line in the crease that really emphasizes where your crease is, the rest is easy. Just use both circular and back and forth motions to blend it in with your previous browns. That's the beauty of using multiple tones of a color, that it just doesn't even take that long to get it all blended and fading from dark to light. Once you're happy with the dimension of your crease, take the fluffy brush you started with, and with the brush light in your hand and lightly touching your eye, just blend the whole thing together for some added blending in assurance. Next, for my lid highlight shade, I'm taking Champagne Truffle. It's literally just your basic shimmery champagne color. She has a strong lid highlight going on. Again, it's shaped so that it emphasizes the roundness of her eyes. So I'm just going to take a packing brush or a concealer brush, anything flat and dense, and I'm going to start by swiping on the champagne color. I know, swiping is dangerous because it reduces the shimmer of the shadow, but we're only going to do this initially so that we can really map out that round shape first. Once you have that all the way across the lid and to the inner corner of the eye, then pack on more of the color to bring that shimmer back. Just continue picking up color and packing it on until you're happy with that highlighted effect. And once more, back in with Triple Fudge, our darkest brown, on the Sonia Kashuk brush again, and I'm redefining that crease. Naturally, some of the light shadow got onto our dark and took away some of that pigmentation, but it's really easy peasy to bring it back. This step is identical to using that color before. Just remember to take only a small amount of Triple Fudge now because we don't need it too much to redefine since there's already so much chilling in the crease. Next, we will create that classic Little Debbie winged liner. Her makeup artist didn't do as dramatic a wing as Debbie herself usually wears, but it's still more dramatic than the average woman's winged liner anyways. So I'm going to start by using my Maybelline gel liner in Blackest Black today. I'll start by drawing up from the outer corner of my eye to where the tail of my brow would be if I had one. This doesn't have to be 100% by the books though. You can totally eyeball it and make that base of the wing go up at any angle that you want, as long as they're both even, right? Scotch tape would be awesome for this step too. I just wanted the bottom of the shadow there to be soft, not harsh. And I don't want to put tape on now and risk taking off shadow when I remove the tape. So I just draw that wing pretty far out and then connect it inward flat. You don't want it to curve as it meets your actual lash line. You want it to come down straight and connect with the more central part of the lash line. Once that triangular shape is down, I take a break and start tightlining my upper lash line. The key to this is careful and slow strokes. I usually just have to keep picking up more product pretty often, but I just trace the shape of my eye as close to the lash line as humanly possible. Then just make sure it connects to the wing smoothly so it's like one perfect fell swoop. Then I move to my inner corner and just fill that shit in, even the inner tear duct. Then I tightline my upper waterline, which is an optional step, but I feel like it's just like an OCD thing. I absolutely must fill it in or I'll feel incomplete. Lastly, we just need to fill things in and darken and thicken. Before I was using my tiny angled brush from BH Cosmetics, now I'm switching to the Sigma EO5. It's like a pointed tip eyeliner brush, but a little thick for my liking, but today we're doing Debbie liner, so thick is fine. I dip that into the product and literally trace over everything as well as fill in our triangle wing at the end. I use this brush because the surface area of the side of the brush can fill things in faster and deposit more color than the edge of an angled brush. The thing that brings this step to the Debbie standard is that if you use careful movements, you can really make that liner nice and thick and black. All you need is that initial map using the more precise angled brush, and then everything from there on out is just coloring in the lines. Okay, moving on. I'm curling my lashes with my Avon Lash Curler just because that makes it a little easier to glue my lashes on underneath. I'm applying my L'Oreal Telescopic Mascara. It's great because the tiny ass wand can really get every lash, which is necessary when gluing them underneath. It makes it so every lash is a little bit more hard and brittle and therefore a better base for the falsie to adhere to. I kind of curl the lash band before applying so it's as round as my eye. Another step to make applying underneath a hair easier. Teehee. And I just fiddle until they're on. Tutorial is coming soon, yo. And we're going to go straight to the under eyes next. I'm taking a green tea makeup wipe and wiping up any fallout or whatever is hanging out down there that I don't want. And then I'm just going to conceal my under eyes as I routinely do. And once they're all set, I'm going to apply white to my waterline. This is the Essence Cosmetics Kajal pencil in white. And it's nicely pigmented, so it really only takes 1 or 2 swipes to get that waterline nice and chalky. This is so incredibly important for Debbie's makeup because her white waterline is what makes the eye look. It makes her already large eyes look gigantic. And what will we do next but make them even larger? I'm taking a flat definer brush from BH Cosmetics and Triple Fudge again, the dark brown, once more. And I'm lining below the waterline right up against that bottom lash line and really packing it on in a line down there. It's really easy to be precise with this, but not completely necessary since we'll be blending it out anyways. And speaking of, I'm taking my Sigma E30, just a standard pencil brush, and with semi-sweet the medium mid-tone brown from before, just using our regular ordinary back and forth motions to diffuse our darker brown. And for the pretty routine last step of an eye look, I'm doing bottom mascara. Just coat those lashes, girl. And I'm going a bit crazy on the face products today, first and foremost with 2 primers. My first is my NYX pore filler in the places I typically get crease lines, that being my nose area and forehead lines, and a dab will do with this one. And then my Rimmel Fix and Perfect to even out my skin tone, and also to give a synthetic sort of base for the foundation to adhere to. And then for my foundation, I'm actually mixing in a primer. I guess it's like kind of a CC cream. It's the Almay Luminous CC cream, I think it's called. And my foundation is the Rimmel Stay Matte, which is a leftover from summer and about a shade and a half too dark, but the CC cream will lighten it up a little bit. So I squeeze out a penny-sized dollop of the foundation and then 2 pumps of the primer. I place that onto my face with my finger and then buff it in with my Ratchet Destroy-Ass Real Techniques buffing brush. And then with my new love, the Anastasia Contour Kit, I'm using the shade Vanilla to set the creasy and troublesome areas of my face. Nose area, forehead, lips, yeah. More importantly, contouring. Debbie has a fierce and strong and warm blended contour, so I'm using Havana from the contour kit, which is a perfect warm brown for contouring, and I'm really going to sculpt out that cheekbone and give my face the lift and poise that she has while simultaneously bronzing the skin. I'll hit the sides of my forehead and my temples as well. Check out my contouring highlighting video linked below if you're interested in it more in depth. Then with my Sigma medium angled shading, the E70 I believe, I'm going to try my darndest to sculpt my nose and make it as petite and buttony as hers is. I literally trace from the top of my nose right where it meets my eyebrow, down and taking it as far in as I can without it looking unnatural, and then blend it back into the natural indent of my nose, all the while using very little bits of product. Make sure to just blend that all with regular motions all the while so no weird and unnatural lines occur. Then just place some on the bottom of the tip of my nose to stunt the length of the nose just slightly. And bam, ladies, one side contoured and one side not. Super sexy. Oh yeah, and get right in the middle of that Cupid's bow for a sexy effect and a more plump lip effect. For blush, I'm just using my NYX Baked Blush in Sugar Mama. No. I don't know if it's called Sugar Mama. It's the shimmery pink one. Just because her blush is so light and barely there that I wanted something light and barely noticeable, but to just still bring a little life back into the face. By the way, no, that blush is called Full On Femme. It's the baby pink with a little bit of shimmer. So I'm just using my Bare Minerals Kabuki. It has more spindly hairs and a lot of brushes, but that just makes it super good at picking up baked products. I just dust that against the edge of my contour like I always do, you know? Okay, so for brows, just listen to me talk. I almost always make my brows very arched and angry like Debbie's. The majority of you watching this might not. To make your brows more arched when they are not usually, there are a couple things you can do depending on your brow shape. If your brows are naturally dark and thick and you only use product to clean them up, you can add more drama and archedness to your brows by simply lengthening the tail. It will give the illusion that the hair is missing from the area below your arch, and that once waxed or plucked, your brows naturally have that shape and length. Just to make sure you use a pencil when extending the tail that is a few shades darker than the hair so that it looks the same as the hair when on the skin. For very round brows that you want to look more angular, the key to making that arch is the top of the arch. Where it curves on top of your arch, make a very soft triangle that resembles an angle. I would recommend just building this from your natural hair so that you don't risk drawing on a huge mistake. Once that's done, fill in the triangle with a product several shades darker than the natural hair and extend the tail further if need be. If all else fails, literally make an evil villain face and arch the shit out of your brows and just use that to fill them in. Anyways, I'm using the Anastasia Brow Wiz in Granite. It's new for me. I'm in love. I'm in Anastasia heaven right now. And then I'll just take the same brush I used to apply Champagne Truffle to my lid, and I don't even need any more shadow on the brush because it's so pigmented to begin with, and I'll just stick that in my brow bone and tear duct for a highlight. As I've said in previous eye looks, you can just place this with light strokes and it should blend itself. Debbie has a pretty stark under eye highlight though, which normally isn't quite my jam, but I want to stay true to the look, so I'm going to take my NYX Radiant Face Powder. It's the one with a bunch of pastels in it that you can mix to even out the skin tone. And on my Sigma flat foundation brush, it's the F60, I'm going to dab that in a triangular shape underneath my eye. You can kind of base the triangle by one side being under the eye and one side being parallel to the nose, and then one side going up against the cheekbone. I'm focusing my brush in the shimmery white and yellow powders in the compact and just dabbing until it's super bright under there. I do, however, need to tone it down a bit, so I'm going to take Banana from the Anastasia Contour Kit, a holy grail for a lot of people, but usually a little bit too yellow for how fair I am. But I'm literally just going to take it on the same brush and dab over where I just put the NYX powder. This is going to tone down the shimmer and frost from that white and make the highlight appear more natural. The highlight is really important with this look because Debbie, not only in this collab, but all the time has dewy skin and a strong on-point highlight. So to do that, I'm taking Sand from the Contour Kit. It's the only powder in it that has shimmer, aka the highlight shade. And I'm going to use my Japanesque 244 brush to highlight all the places I usually do. I'm picking up a little bit more of the shade on my brush than normal just because for a lot of highlight you need a lot of product. And in all the normal places I place it, my Cupid's bow to bring depth and fullness to the lips, my chin and forehead for a dewy brightening effect, and the tip of my nose to make it look more buttony, and the top of my cheekbones to bring lift to the face. Last but definitely not least, we're going to complete this look with her blue lips. I'm using the NYX Wicked Lippy in Envy. I was finally able to get my hands on several of these, and I knew this one was going to be the star of this look. I already lined my lips with a blue eyeliner. Now I'm just going to fill in my lips with this lipstick. When you line your lips, make sure to round out that Cupid's bow to mimic Debbie's round lips. You can overdraw to round it out, just make sure it connects to the natural lip as it reaches the outer corners of the lip. And that's all there is to it, guys. Today we did a super rounding and enlarging neutral look on the eyes, dramatic and beautiful and perfect for any occasion, a top tense contouring and highlighting, and a metallic blue lip. If you don't know who Debbie is or don't listen to her music, I recommend you do, but either way, it's okay. This look is beautiful, and so are you. As always, like, rate, subscribe, and I'll see you for my next tutorial.